Hello, everyone out there in the interwebs. I go by the name of Collin Sleuth, and this is going to be my show, which I'm calling Funk the State. And why do I want to call it Funk the State? Well, because that's what I think is the best route, the funnest route to smashing the state into pieces, because all of us agree that we're against the state. We hate the state. We want to push the button that will put an end to the state instantaneously. So I see the way of having fun, being creative, following your passion, and just generally being funky as the greatest way to destroy statism. So I'm calling this show Funk the State, and this is going to be on the network Voluntary Virtues Network, which is Mike Shanklin's brainchild and his baby, and it's a great thing what he's doing, and he's bringing us all together, and I think that's awesome. It's a fantastic thing. So what am I going to do on this show? I really don't know. I'm just going to be funky. I'm going to mix it up with a bunch of different elements and throw it all into the pot and see what kind of groove we can get on. I'll tell you some stuff about myself. I'm kind of a news junkie, and I'm into strange stories, so I will be bringing you a bunch of futuristic or old-fashioned kind of strangeness, and I'm going to bring you, libertarian, anarchist, voluntarist rants from my perspective, which is about worth at least 2 cents. So I'm also a radical homeschooler. So I have 2 children. I home educate them, or they home educate me, or we're actually transitioned now into life schooling, which is basically realizing that education is a philosophy. It's a philosophy of self-education and rejecting indoctrination, especially indoctrination from the state. So I'm against school. I don't think you should be in school. I don't think your children should be in school. You should take your children out of school. It's not a safe environment, and we'll cover a lot of stories to illustrate that point. And I just like ranting about that, and so I'm going to spend some time doing so. Also pointing out great ways that I'm learning about how children or people in general learn through the technique of freedom. So how freedom helps people in their education goals, and not necessarily in a direct way. So me and my family, we find educational opportunities outside of the desk, paper, pencil environment. Though my son would probably say that I make him do way too many lessons, and it's definitely true. I believe in a classical education. I follow a trivium philosophy, but I'm also a radical unschooler, deschooler, life schooler. So I'm hoping that some people out there are going to be interested in this. Maybe there's some new parents who are going to be looking, and my son being 10, I've been around a bit of the block, so I might be able to say some things that you'll find useful in your strategy. I hope to encourage people to reject not just the state, but the indoctrination, the indoctrination of children by the state. I think it's an integral issue. So we'll get into a bunch of stories about that, because there is a bunch of stories about that have just, that are constantly coming up every single day. So I found this one just today, just before I started the show here. Honor student charged with 2 felonies for making a volcano as a science experiment. Yeah, and so she made a volcano, and she's 16, and she did the traditional erupting volcano, but it got her in serious trouble because it was designed to demonstrate a chemical reaction simulating volcano eruption inside her volcano. Was the typical stuff. It made a mess. No one was hurt. No damage was caused. No harm was done. But she got in trouble anyway, because you know what? Being different, being capable is not what they want. They want you to just fit in, and if they can find, it's also a bureaucratic issue. If because it's run by a bureaucracy with no real checks and balances that make any sense like the market would have, you have people just not knowing what to do but check the box that means that they have to report or actually arrest a student. You want to put your children in a place where a bunch of stranger adults who you're supposed to trust will call the police and have your child arrested. I don't, so I don't think you should either. This ties us right into this horrifying story. Surveillance footage shows school security guard beating a wheelchair-bound student and dumping him onto the floor. And I watched the video. It's horrible. I don't really like watching videos like this. But because it really riles up my jimmies there, and it gets me excited in the bad way. You're watching this poor kid. The kid's got polio, apparently, and these gigantic men who are pushing him down the hall one of them is beating him in the head and smacking him in the head and literally throws him out of the chair onto the floor. Another student you can see is perturbed and starts to approach. You can see him on the camera, and apparently there's some disciplinary measures, but if I had a child with polio, I wouldn't want him to be in this environment because of the dangers. These security guards are really, soldiers of a type, and they look like soldiers and they act like soldiers, and it's a terrible situation. So if you can find a way to homeschool, you don't have to be rich. In fact, you're probably, if you are rich, it's going to help. But if you're not rich, you can do it. It doesn't take money, and that sounds like some kind of hippie crap to say, but it's actually because education is all around us, and you just have to it takes love, it takes patience, more patience than I have, and so it's a work in progress, but so it's like being an artist. It's not a free ride. It's not just dropping out of school. Speaking of dropping out of school, I'm looking at a local story, but it ties into the big picture. This is the story about BC students. BC is the province in Canada where I live, British Columbia, beautiful British Columbia. And as you can imagine, we have like a publicly funded education system, which everyone's sure is absolutely a necessity. And the problem with it is, again, because of the issues of bureaucracy and because there's no pricing mechanism, there's no market functions occurring, they never have enough money for what they desire, and also because of the pressures from inflation. So we all know about this whole story, and most of you should know. I can explain it, but I'm not going to explain it right now. Basically, inflation happens because the government prints the money to give to all their employees who don't pay any tax, even though they pretend that that's what they're doing. And so one group of their employees is the teachers, and the teachers, everybody's supposed to love the teachers. The teachers are great. They're the ones who indoctrinate children for the sake of the state. They're the front line of childhood indoctrination towards statism. So the teachers are my enemy. Now, each individual teacher, there might be a good one. I'd like to meet all the non-statist teachers, the ones who even recognize or have even thought that kind of issue through. I'm very happy to meet those people, and those would be the exceptions to my rule. I don't mean teachers per se are somehow evil. I just mean because they work for the government, they're agents for the government, and their job is indoctrinating children, and they indoctrinate children towards statism. This is why we have so many statists. So we should, be cautious when supporting the teachers, because supposedly they are helping the students. And we'll get back to this. Are the teachers, is it true that the teachers in their capacity as a labor union, are they really motivated by the children's best interest? So what we have going on is that there's a BC teachers strike, because the government and the teachers, which really are the same thing, the government is the teachers, but you can't tell that to them. They pretend they're not. They don't see that they are the government. The teachers don't see that they are the state. They think that they're against the state because they're battling their boss, and they're taking union action to battle their employer, which is the government. And but in my view, they are the government. They all work for the government. They're all trying to fleece me, and I don't want to be fleeced. So, and I'm not going to be. So they are going to have a problem with this. So I celebrate their strike action that's been happening, not because I support their strike, because just because it ends school for a day, which I support that. And it is just an example. It's a good opportunity for educating other people, because the discussion comes up, and a lot of people have never heard of these ideas. That's what this show and this network is really going to be for. Sending all the people, maybe we're talking amongst ourselves, but not just preaching to the choir, not that that's a bad thing, but also bringing in new people to view each and every show here. All the different people who are doing shows have their own friends list, etc., and they will be exposing hundreds, thousands of people to the ideas of liberty and freedom, voluntarism. I'm digressing here. So what's happening is that in this area, there's a cash crunch due to inflation. Teachers want more money, but they can't say that, so they say it's not about more money, it's about smaller class sizes. But of course, they want more money to afford to have smaller class sizes, and they think that that's really important. I would just say, like, college doesn't have smaller class sizes. If you're preparing them for college, they ought to get used to bigger class sizes. Although I don't think that I would put my children in a class size of any type. I'm anti-classes. So I believe in the smallest possible class size of the individual, or voluntary groups roaming the streets of classes of children learning as they go. So their class size argument is just a politically correct terminology to whitewash the fact that what they want is more money, and they want the government to steal that money and give it to the teachers, and they want them to steal it from the taxpayers who don't work for the government, who aren't teachers, and other people who don't work for the government are the ones who are going to have to pay in order to fund these teachers. That's what they want. They demand my money, and they demand everybody else's money, and that money that they demand from me is actually coming out of my education fund for my children. So they're stealing my children's education so that they can give themselves fat pensions, not have to be subject to regulations that would exist on the market about employment of teachers and skill and whatnot. So I'm against the teachers, I'm against the government. They're going on strike. It's a funny issue, it's funny to watch, but guess what? The students are now upset about being put in between the government employer and the teachers union, and so they plan a walkout. They're planning a walkout of school. They don't call it a strike, they call it a walkout. That's supposed to be different, but really what it is walking out when they're supposed to be sitting still, and they're not going to sit still. They're going to walk out, and I love this. I love a student strike. I love student walkouts. Students should walk out every single day, and for a different reason, or for a good reason, or against the state. And they're going to be doing this on Wednesday. But of course, where the teachers really wanted support from everybody. They even had in classes were teaching and of course indoctrinating all year. I've seen the signs on the wall of the school about how good being in a union is, and how it's vital, and how everybody should agree that it's a good thing. And now these union actions happen, and obviously the implications the children are supposed to support the teachers, and they're not supposed to oppose the teachers. So that the teachers wanted the support from the students, when the teachers walked out. But when in all my exploration on the net here, I don't see a single teacher who's supporting this student walkout. They're very angry about it. They say the students don't know, the students are foolish, the students can't make up their own minds, they don't understand the issue. Is this in support of the teachers? If it's not, then it shouldn't be sanctioned. And it's great because it's really getting their jimmies riled. As far as I can tell on the pages about this, the students are pretty positive about it. They like this idea, and I think that this is the first step, students. This is the first step of you taking your education back, taking your mind back. Stand up, walk out, and take back your mind, take back your education. Don't just drop out and do nothing and become a loser like they think that is what's going to happen to you if you don't follow every class edict of what they've outlined for your life, and wear the square hat the proper way on the proper day and have a piece of paper. And if you don't do these things, you're going to somehow, it's hard to even know these days what it is you're not going to be capable of. But I mean, you could start your own network, or you could get your own show. I mean, without any of this. So I'm for education. I think you should drop out and go to the library, drop out and get on Wikipedia and start your own Wikipedia and all these things. That's what you guys want to do. That's what young people are designed for, is breaking new ground and not being held down. Definitely not being held down in a box and a cage with a hallway with every locker lining the hallway exactly the same. The only thing that differentiates one locker from the other is the number that you were issued at the beginning of the year that's supposed to be permanent for you for the rest of the year, and you're supposed to begin at one day and end perfectly at the other. So this is everything I'm against. School should be your life. You should pursue it, work, make money, be profitable, understand economics, understand philosophy, find your own niche, make your own network. And you can't do that when you're held up in their institution for their sake, for their agenda, for their pension. So this BC student walkout is a heroic and great thing. I'd encourage everybody to go check it out on the Facebook, like it on the Facebook thing, on the Facebook page, on the thingy, and you know, it'd be cool because some kind of great action, like it's the kind of civil disobedience I like, you know. I'm just going to check out some other interesting stories, not necessarily related to I guess there's a good video by Sir Ken Robinson. I haven't watched this video yet, but people keep telling me how school kills creativity. And my buddy there, Josh Ross, he posted that to me, and he endorses it, which doesn't mean anything, but I'm going to check it out. Maybe we can check it out at the same time. Apparently, in completely other news, the moon now has Wi-Fi, and it has better Wi-Fi than you do. And in fact, the downloading times on from the moon are really fast, and they've got crazy Wi-Fi on the moon. Basically, you might even be able to store your Bitcoin there, which would be useful, I guess, to store your Bitcoin on the moon. At least it would sound cool at a party conversation. And you can check out the moon's Facebook page, which I started last night. I found a really great story by the National Journal, and I'm really excited about this because I love great entrepreneurial ideas. This is capitalism right here. Would you pay $1,000 once to get free beer for life? That's right, $1,000 one time, and you get free beer for life. A brew pub and a coffee shop in Minnesota's Twin Cities have used this one-time payment method to save their businesses, and there's no reason to think the model can't spread. And I think the model can spread. People should copy this model, but you know, it's kind of interesting because there are successful business models protected by intellectual monopoly, and should they be? And if not, why not? And I don't think they should be. I think it's a perfect example of how business models that could be emulated, essentially, they show why ideas themselves aren't property. So there's a price tag for unlimited beer for the rest of your life, and it's $1,000. That seems like a lot of money to me, but in reality, the cost of that much beer is a lot more. But for a few dozen people, free beer for life is their reward for investing in a small restaurant, and it's called the Northbound Smokehouse and Brew Pub in Minneapolis. They needed to raise $220,000 to secure a bank loan, and they didn't know how they were going to do it. Investors were backing away, and they didn't want to give up control over their companies. This is a typical situation for someone with a small company. That's kind of what they're interested in. They were like, I got a few. They kept meeting friends and family who wanted to help out with only a few grand, but not too much money. And people kept saying this over and over. So they had an idea. Why not just take a couple grand from everybody, and then we'd have all the money we'd need? That's not a novel idea. That's just a good idea, and that's what they did. But what was novel is that their way of setting up, you receive free in-house beer for the rest of your life for $1,000, or as long as the place stays open. People could also receive 0.1% non-voting equity, or you could have a 5,000 deal, 0.5%. You still got the 1,000. They raised $220,000 through 46 people who chose the first option, 42 people who picked the second, and 30 who took the third. So that's 120 people or something like that. I mean, it's possible to find 120 people, whether they're willing to give up 1,000 or 5,000, whatever. It's just possible to find these people. It's possible to raise $220,000, and your investors, their investors haven't drinking them dry. The restaurant is giving away only 17 beers a day, and the cost is only 40 cents a beer. Plus, investors aren't just going to the brew pub for a beer by themselves. They order food, bring people, or maybe order a scotch. And they have a sense of ownership. And they the owner of the business is quoted as saying, "We have an army of over 100 people who are our cheerleaders." And that's probably true. They bring people all the time. This is going to be... And so you can emulate this model and open a brew pub in your own neighborhood, and that would be a heroic thing. I'm going to do it. I just got to raise the money. And apparently a new breakthrough in 3D printing. You guys are probably really into 3D printing, or some of you are. Well, they now have cheap 3D printed food for delicious nursing home mush. If you have no teeth, you should be looking forward to those wonderful sunset years. Why are we not funding solar roadways? What's wrong with us? Solar roadways need funding, and we haven't done it. You've seen the meme on your Facebook, and it goes by, why aren't we funding this? And of course, when they say we, most often they mean, why isn't the government stealing everybody's money and giving it to a solar-powered roadway company? Who will build the roads, and who will build the solar-powered roads? We need government, because someone's got to build the solar-powered roads. It wouldn't be possible without government. Wait a minute, an Idaho couple has a vision to cover our roadways with smart solar panels. Turns out it's a vision shared by a record number of backers on Indiegogo. You've all heard of Indiegogo. It's a place to raise a whole bunch of money, and it's a great thing. Maybe I could raise money from my beer parlor. You've probably heard that people love an underdog. Yeah, and Solar Roadways is an underdog, apparently. I haven't really seen where they explain how much energy they can produce from this, but I always thought, why not go to Walmart, and why not go to Safeway or whatever, like Value Foods or whatever big places, and they have huge parking lots, and this company could do this. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. But in the meantime, over 36,000 people have backed this project on Indiegogo with a total of 1.5 million. And 1.5 million, that will not repave every road in the world with solar panels. It's true. I don't even know if any roads should be paved with solar panels. If the market supplies it, I think it's a great thing. It would be fun. These Walmart or whatever would do it just because it would be huge, great promo. Everybody would call them an environmentalist, and it would be just a kind of a slick and hip place to go hang out in the parking lot at least once for every single person. So maybe solar panel roadways are the new roads, but they're probably not the new government roads. But maybe they are, and who knows? Maybe we don't even need roads, and I'm against roads. I have a vehement hatred of roads. I despise roads, basically. Even though I use them all the time, I use them begrudgingly, with lots of begrudging. So here we go. People have definitely funded this. The market has provided the funding for this, and that's why we're not funding it, because we are. There's a guy running, and he's running for the head, or he is the head of the Libertarian Party in Canada. So the Libertarian Party in Canada is basically unheard of. It's not like the Libertarian movement in the States. There's never a Libertarian anything. Like, no one's ever heard of a Libertarian until Ron Paul in Canada. And Tim Moen he's a pretty cool guy. He's always got lots of cool things to say. And I don't tell anyone that they should vote. I tell everybody that they shouldn't vote, but that's because most of them are statists. So in a certain sense, if I'm less against an anarchist voting than a statist voting. So voting to me isn't a violation of non-aggression. It's just that mostly of any vote, whatever it has stood for, has been a violation of non-aggression, because it's always voting for more of the state. And so I think it's possible. I don't think it's an ideal thing, but Tim Moen is doing it. So he's getting out there, he's getting his message out, and he's just introducing a bunch of people who think they're politically interesting and politically interested. He's interesting them and into libertarian ethics, essentially. So I think this is a good thing. He's got a great motto. I want gay married couples to be able to protect their marijuana plants with guns. And this is a funny and catchy statement, and he backs it up. He's getting a lot of press with this. So I'm excited about that, and I just would word it differently. I would put it, I support the legal right of abstinent teenagers to develop a Tesla coil in their basement in order to build a force field to protect their psychedelic mushroom farms. There's the guru who might be dead, and he might be meditating. It's kind of funny. You guys should check it out. I'm pretty much done here. My half hour is up. I'm going to have more content, more interviews, hopefully some music, plenty more ramblings, rantings, and homeschool talk, lessons from the skate park and from the cemetery about how to best find the education for your young people. Keep working towards liberty. Thank you, Michael Shanklin, for the opportunity. Thank you, all you other people out there who are great, and I've been loving your shows, and I'm excited about what this network's going to do. And I know that you guys are as well. So with that, I'm hopefully going to get my Bitcoin wallet set up so that people can send me Bitcoin now that it's rising, heroically again, and who knows what's going to happen. I'm probably not going to trade any. I would trade some paper for Bitcoins one day, and so that's my actual plan. I hope you guys are doing that too, and I know you guys are. So I could learn more about Bitcoin. I hope there's going to be some shows. I think there is going to be a show on this station about Bitcoin. There's going to be some bigwigs coming on this station everybody's got to look out for, and that'll be fun and excellent as well. So this has been Collin Sleuth, and this show is Funk the State on the Voluntary Virtues Network, Michael Shanklin's network. And it's a great network for anarchism, liberty, libertarianism, and voluntarism. I hope you guys get your shows going really well. I hope you've enjoyed my half an hour and that I haven't bored you to death. I hope some of these stories are novel and new for you. Thank you, and peace.